perfect sense of awareness of all aspects of self. That is a major part in healing. When we're talking about healing, we are often stuck by that word. What does it mean to heal? Where do we begin? Where do we start? Everyone mentions this word healing. And if I could sum up healing in one sentence, it would be bringing awareness to all aspects of self. Healing means something different to different people, but it also means something different to many spiritual teachers and many spiritual people. My name is Victoria Bedford. I'm a medium, a tarot reader and a spiritual teacher. And I use all of my life experiences and the lessons and things that I've learned on my journey to help empower people and how do they really heal. And we talk about these words, these buzzwords of inner child work, shadow work. And there's so many buzzwords in the spiritual community and they all have their place. And when we talk about bringing awareness to all aspects of self, that is in part shadow work, in part healing the inner child. But if there's one thing that I like to do as a teacher, an empowerer, it is to break things down, because there are so many overcomplicated phrases and terms that are used in healing that actually keeps people stuck. To heal is to bring all aspects of yourself to the forefront so you are aware of who you are. Not so that you can change or eradicate the parts that you don't like about yourself, but so that you can raise them to the surface so that you're aware when they are driving you. And this is actually a massive part of shadow work. Each and every one of us has aspects of ourselves that drives us from our unconscious, aspects of ourselves that we don't like and we try to push down. But every part of who we are serves a purpose. When we are learning to bring all aspects of self to the forefront, we are learning to not shame, but integrate all parts of ourselves. Because to become a whole, to become authentic, is to become aware of who we are. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. And quite often, some people's strengths have been shamed enough that they have placed them and put them away in their shadow. When we are talking about bringing all parts of ourselves to the awareness, it's learning what drives us. So what drives you? What wounding, what unconscious wounding do you have that may be driving you? Self-sabotage, the need for control, the struggle for acceptance, suffering because you don't know how to navigate letting go. When you understand, when you become aware of some of your drives, and becoming aware of some of your drives takes introspection and reflection. It takes you wanting to actively start learning to connect to yourself so you can start understanding part of your wounds. And that may mean working with somebody like myself, or starting to work with yourself through journaling, through reflection work, through workbooks, helping you to understand the different aspects of self and what drives you. So many people are living on autopilot day to day. They're not aware that they are driven by aspects of themselves that just want to be acknowledged. Many people who have the drive for perfection really have the drive to be seen and validated. But because they don't know how to validate themselves and see themselves, the perfectionism seeks for others to validate them, to feel worthy and good enough. It also seeks for them to control the narrative that people don't get to judge them, because if I can control this narrative and how I am seen, then people will like me. But this also has the aspects driven by people naturally don't like everybody. So therefore, if somebody doesn't like you, you'll be questioning, well, what part of me is not good enough? No part of you is not good enough. It's just the part of you that has sought for others to validate you. The part of you that believes your self-worth is based on anybody else. Every human has aspects in their shadow that at some point they've been made to believe were not good enough or were too good. Because shadow doesn't only hold the dark parts of you, it holds the light parts of you that you're scared to integrate. The light parts of people that they're scared to integrate are the skills of leadership, the skills of being seen and shining. Somewhere along the line, they have been told they're too much, too loud, too bossy. And then what gets placed into the shadow is the part of them that has an innate drive to be leading, to be creating things that can really help humanity. But because they haven't navigated or understood that their drive to be validated, loved and heard by others far outweighs their need to integrate parts of themselves. Because in our life, we've been taught to disown parts of ourselves. Because our ancestors had to disown parts of themselves to survive. They had to disown parts of themselves to get through the war, to get through trauma. Behaviours have been passed down that leads them to advise us to disown parts of ourselves, because there has been parts that have been praised more than others. If you're a good listener and a good supporter and you do your work well and you get praised, you disown the part of yourself that needs to have boundaries and not listen to everybody. You disown the parts of you that has to support your needs above others. As humans, we strive for connection and love and validation. And we are taught that at all costs. We are taught that at all costs is what we're here to strive for. But at all costs, reintegrating parts of ourselves is what we're here for. When we're reintegrating parts of ourselves, we look at parts of our personality traits, because there's parts of our personality that are sub-personalities that are not quite ours, and there's parts of our personality that is ours. And it's important for us to be able to start differentiating between parts of the personality we have been conditioned from others, parts of the personality of others that we've taken on, but parts of our own personality. Reintegrating parts of yourselves is not about eradicating the personality, but it's about being aware of the personality and authentically, where does that personality come from? Are you living in a personality that is there to serve others and their needs, that is there to strive to be validated in this world? Or are you living in a personality that is rebelling because you're fed up of being dictated to and told and controlled, and for you to fight back, you feel that that's what you have to do? But either or, you're suffering. Because in rebellion mode, you'll be pushing people away. When you are becoming defensive and angry and controlling to a degree, you'll be pushing people away. When you are being a people pleaser, having little boundaries, seeking the validation of others, you're pushing yourself away. To integrate all parts of yourself is to understand that all parts of you are worthy. The need for selfishness is needed. But when selfishness drives us and we're not realizing of it, that's when it's become a problem. So it's not to eradicate the fact that actually every human has to have an innate part of them that's selfish. It's to allow that part of them to be integrated so they can realize when selfishness is needed and when selfishness is taking over. Stubbornness is needed. But stubbornness, when it is untapped and unseen, can lead you to push people away, can lead you to push yourself away, can lead you to disconnect in situations that could be healed. Leadership is great, But leadership unhealed is dominance. Leadership untapped becomes passivity, allowing other people to call the shots because you're so scared to be the leader. Integration of all parts is understanding that every human has different parts of themselves that they may not like, but it's not about whether you like them or not. It's about how do they drive you. You've been taught to not like parts of yourself because you've been made to believe and feel that to be a worthy human that you have to like, you only have to allow the parts of yourself you like. Integration means you learn to love the parts of yourself even if you don't like them at times. Because by loving the part that needs to be selfish, by loving the part that needs to be stubborn, by loving the part that is a leader, you're loving the parts of you that are there to support you in your needs when you need them. When we don't integrate ourselves and we don't become whole in all of our parts, we wear masks. We wear masks with people because that's how we think we should be. But this only leads to further pain, because the more masks you wear and the more you struggle to get accepted or liked for those masks, the more you question what other masks you need to wear. But when you learn to be authentic and to own the parts of yourself that even if you don't like them at times, you can recognize it's a humanness that we all have parts of ourselves that are deemed not good, but they are neither good nor bad. The traits that are deemed good in society, the traits of people pleasing, well, if you people please too much, that's not healthy, is it? So a trait that's being deemed good is now being deemed good at all costs. The trait of always answering the phone or always doing what you think you should do for others because that's what a good person does. But there is a difference between a good person and a healthy person. A good person isn't always a nice person. And the reason why most people struggle with perceivingly good people is because they realize that there is a fakery about them because they can't be themselves. People struggle with people who are not authentic. And those people believe they're being authentic because they believe that personality they have built, because that's who they have been told their personality is along the way. The truth is, you don't always feel comfortable when you don't know where you stand with somebody, when you don't know what part of their personality they're bringing forward, when you don't know. Because the truth is, every single person has different parts about them perceived good and bad. And when we get to understand that, we can have more compassion for others because we understand that we have those traits too. But because everyone is running around trying to hide from the traits that they don't like, they end up disliking them in others anyway. Because you'll always dislike in somebody else what you don't like in yourself, but you don't know how to face up to it. And this happens unconsciously. I always call my clients to try the mirroring technique, to really look at what it is you absolutely hate about somebody else. Does that sit within you? The likelihood, majority of the time, it does. And if it doesn't sit within you, it sits within a wound that you hold from people that have done that to you, and you're trying to run from it. So either or, it's a wound of some kind. When we integrate all parts of ourselves, we can accept ourselves for who we are without striving or trying to be something that we're not. We can all accept that parts of us mess up, parts of us get it wrong. And it's not about the messing up and getting it wrong that's actually the problem. It's the lack of accountability and ownership. Integrating all parts of yourself is taking ownership for who you are, taking ownership for the fact that, and it gives compassion and love to self, but it also gives compassion and love to others, because when you show up in ownership of all your parts, you're teaching another that all of their parts are okay. Now, and not just okay, worthy. And now parts of us hurt other people. And that's why it's important for us to integrate our parts. Because when we don't understand the parts that we hold about ourselves from the wounds that we have, we don't know how they impact others. And to become authentic and to become integrated means you can understand when some of your wounds are driving you, when you're being driven by some other people's wounds. And it's all about self-awareness to all parts. It's self-awareness to how you've been affected by things. And this is a journey. It takes time. But what it does is it releases that burden of expectation of who you should be. And it also releases the burden of the expectation of who others should be. Because if the greatest thing that we know, with every expectation comes a disappointment. When you expect people to be a certain way and they're not, you get upset. But when you understand that actually you can't expect people to be anything, but you can have requirements to how they show up to your life, you can start to take your power back in how you are treated by others, but also how you treat others. The reason why it's important to integrate parts of ourselves is not just for ourselves. It's so we can have more compassion and love for others. So we can stop having expectations on who people should be, because everyone, just like ourselves, is wounded. Today this message is coming to you because the burden that you're carrying of the masks that you're wearing, because you're so scared to start learning to integrate who you are and parts of yourself, is weighing heavy on you. And there's many people that think this work is tosh or not needed, but I can speak solely from my experience of how much it changed my life when I was able to really look at the parts of myself that I didn't know were driving me. This is a message for you to start looking at how do you start integrating parts of yourself. The parts you don't like. Write down the parts that you don't like yourself, but also look at how those parts can serve you at times. How much compassion can you give to the parts that you don't like about yourself? But also look at parts about yourself that you're suppressing because you're scared of judgment. The parts of you that you're scared to share, the parts of you that's scared to shine, the parts of you that's scared to have a voice. By avoiding judgment in others, you are creating judgment in self. And if there's anything that I can tell you about the healing journey, that the judgment you create for yourself is far more painful than the judgment of others. Because you have to live with yourself. You don't have to live with others. And when other people judge you, they're judging you through a wounded lens of their perception, through a wounded lens of what they are unaware of. But when you judge yourself, you are shaming yourself. I want to send you love as I send you this message. And I hope that this message has brought you something for contemplation. It's brought you something for awareness. Because for every video that you watch, for every workbook that you do, or every course that you show up to, you are stepping in the right direction of learning more about yourself, of integrating parts about yourself and creating self-growth within you. And that will lead to more peace than you'll ever know. Mwah.